we're advancing the cause of conservatism to all Americans, Black, Latinos, women, and young people. We're very successful, as you very well know. Our organization is one that is responsible for encouraging and giving inspiration to Senator Elbert Guillory out of Louisiana to change parties.
That's amazing. And tell us this too. When I always think about patriots in the trenches. They're not talking to senators. They're not. They don't have their own radio shows. They're not giving speeches at rallies like you are. They're not writing books. But they're just going to the quick shop, buying a cup of coffee, and seeing somebody there that they see every day, and they've developed a little rapport with. And hey, the guy happens to be a minority of some sort who's been told his whole life that those in the conservative movement are the bane of his existence. How do you make that first introduction? What do you say to that person that has never even really been approached on these issues?
Well, the first thing, you have to get past the propaganda. These people that you're describing, for years now, the progressive left, the Democrat Party, have used deceit, distortion, and rewriting of history to confuse people and to lead them astray. So Frederick Douglass, that when I say that I'm a Frederick Douglass Republican, that is an oxymoron for many people. And because it's an oxymoron, people want to know, what are you talking about? So that's when you get a chance to drive the narrative, and you start framing the debate, because they want to know, what are you talking about? Because people want to be enlightened, they want to be informed. So that whole Frederick Douglass speech is so key, because when I say that I'm a Frederick Douglass Liberty Messenger or I'm a Frederick Douglass Republican, you don't see me as a racist or as a sellout, because what I'm saying is that I believe what Douglass believed in, who was a victim of racism and who was not a sellout. And so that's a powerful oxymoron that gives us as conservatives an opportunity to create an atmosphere for political dialogue without the fear of being labeled a racist or a sellout, and at the same time, you'll inspire that other person to join the ranks of your movement. Both my parents have changed how they voted. They don't call themselves a conservative, but they refer to themselves as a Frederick Douglass Republican.
And that movement is certainly growing, and I think it's so impressive. Set the history straight for us, Kay Carl. Because I know that, of course, Frederick Douglass goes without saying, but there are a lot of other freedom fighters, people who fought slavery in some of the biggest, most pronounced ways, who really cared a lot more about liberty than they did enslaving entitlements that it seems like so many of the leaders in our politics today are obsessed with. Talk to us a little bit about that history, other surprising facts.
I mean, for example, one of the great warriors of liberation, of course, is Harriet Tubman with the Underground Railroad, and God used her in a very powerful way to bring liberty to those who want to be free. Because she said on one occasion, Harriet Tubman said, I freed 1,000 slaves. I could have freed more only if they knew they were slaves. And there's so many others. Of course, you had Sojourner Truth with her efforts, and men of clergy back in the day. There were a lot of black preachers of clergy who were liberty messengers. They were fighters of liberty. They believed in it, and they preached that from the pulpit. But now when you come to that, you ask me, all of them are really what I think are Frederick Douglass type models, because to me, Frederick Douglass was the originator. It all started with him. When I go speak, I tell people that Frederick Douglass is the grandfather of the civil rights movement. Dr. King is the father of the civil rights movement. Matter of fact, you would say the modern day civil rights movement, because he got many of his ideas and strategies from the writings of Frederick Douglass, especially on the voting rights bill that was submitted in the 60s. Douglass wrote about those things years ago in the 1800s. So Douglass is the key, and I say this every time I go, that if we are serious about defending liberty, about defending the Constitution, and preserving the blessings of liberty for our children, our posterity, we must make Frederick Douglass an integral part of the conservative message, because he defeats all of the propaganda used by the left. He trumps the race card. can't call Douglas a racist. He was a victim of racism. You can't say that Douglas didn't care about the poor. Nobody did more for the poor than Frederick Douglass. And Douglas died a one percenter. I mean, he had $300,000 in savings. So thank God that we have a literary legacy of the writings of Frederick Douglass to refute the lies and propaganda of the left. It is through Frederick Douglass we're going to save this nation and broaden the base of the conservative movement.
Who is public enemy number one? Who is the most threatening person to what you know to be true through the legacy of Frederick Douglass?
The status quo Republicans.
That's not what I thought you would say. I thought it would be a Jesse Jackson type. And so status quo Republicans, explain that.
I get more heartache and more rejection from the status quo Republicans. And those are the ones that we got to get them out of here. I'm talking about the rhinos. I'm talking about the moderates.
Oh, I'm with you. I'm with you. I hear you.
They're a more threat to what I'm saying. They're more threat to me than the liberals. And which is a major threat to what I'm saying, because the liberals don't want to lose a slave. They want to make sure no one escapes the plantation.
Yep.
But I get more rejection from the status quo Republicans.
Yeah.
Who are Republicans in name only? They're not Frederick Douglass Republicans, because the Republican Party today does not resemble the party of Frederick Douglass. It's the Karl Rove folks that don't like my message.
Yes.
I don't want to call him out, but I just did.
I'm so glad you did. I actually wrote a column about them this weekend. I called them the Mod Squad, because they're the ones who lie and tell us all the time that we need to be moderates and we need to do all these entitlement programs to reach across the aisles, when I don't think that's what people are really interested in today. I think it keeps them on the plantation when what people really desire deep in their heart is liberty, and that certainly is the message of your work and was the message and is the legacy of Frederick Douglass. When you go to the Capitol, do you go to Republican offices or Democrat offices more?
Republican office more.
I didn't know. I just wondered, because I was so surprised by your last answer that I didn't know if maybe you had more people listening on the other side.
The power, the leadership now, the leadership of the Democrat Party and those power brokers don't like it.
Sure.
But the grassroots people, when I go into black churches and speak, they love it.
Well, you are a true American hero and a true patriot. It's always an honor, K. Carl, to have you on my show. Go find him on Twitter, FDR Republicans. It's actually FD Republicans, more accurately. FD Republicans, FrederickDouglassRepublican.com. God bless you, my friend.
God bless you. Thank you.
Thanks for being with us. Coming